In a galaxy far, far away, where Jedi fight ancient beasts and use the cosmic will of the Force, you'd think politics would be the last of their worries. Today, I'm going to inform you about the politics of Star Wars. I've conducted research on each of the trilogies and their political systems, and I have personal experience watching a few unhealthy amount of times of each little trilogy. Today, we will examine the politics of the Grand Republic, the Galactic Empire, and the Resistance. I would like to first begin by discussing the structure of the Republic, and this is where the fun begins. Vox News in 2019 explains that the Senate has the same structure as the US House of Representatives, because each senator within this little picture represents their planet, similar to how, for example, Tim Ryan in the Youngstown Congressional District also represents his hometown, meaning is that you have representation for every little sector. As we can all know from US politics, this can sometimes be a cluster, and we see this throughout the entire trilogy. Newsweek in 2016 also furthers is that there's this constant conflict between the Jedi and the Chancellor. So imagine, have President Biden versus the CIA or the FBI. And actually, we'll see is that maybe Star Wars was right about QAnon after all. But at the end of the day, the major conflict and the major political structure of these systems actually focuses on the US's issues and its models it. Now that we discussed the Grand Republic, let's move on to the Empire and do it. The Empire models something that of Nazi Germany, as Vox in 2019 furthers, as it's based on autocratic governments. So the Emperor, for example, rules everything with his cronies to handle the rest. And this models even Nazi Germany, since actually in the movies, these guys all have German accents. So we can see the similarities in that regard. And moreover, there's mass centralization. So you have this guy controlling everything. Basically, just remember Hitler. That's all you need to know. NPR 2015 also notes is that actually it models that of other empires because it has a pro-democracy rebellion inside of it. And we even see this throughout history because ancient Rome and other empires also followed this trend and this fashion. You can see this even in the Star Wars Return of the Jedi, to where you have Ewok warriors in the Rebel Alliance actually fighting for a democracy. And we've seen this throughout history too, because when Rome fell, or when you had this high tyrannical government, there's actually pro-democracy rebellions that result as a result of that issue. And now that we talked about the Galactic Empire, let's talk about the little brother of the Resistance. The Resistance models that of modern guerrilla groups. And we can see this through the fall of the Empire. Because once the Empire falls, there's always a power vacuum that's constant throughout history. And we can see is that the same follows in Star Wars, whether we'd like to forget about it or not. As The Ringer in 2013 actually notes, is that when you have these groups and these remnants, it leads to things such as the First Order. The First Order, while might be in a comic movie or something that's fantasy, it's actually a trend that we see throughout history. A trend throughout history that we see inside of the Roman Empire. Because when you have this big government that falls, there's always power vacuums that follow. And actually, that's the main plot of the entire movies, is that when this government falls, what happens afterwards? The First Order, an autocratic government, fights for power. And moreover, what we see is that military commanders actually take charge whenever the government falls. And so that's why you only have military commanders that take hold. Though they might be a little bit democratic in how they vote, it's still autocracy, and it's still the same thing that happens throughout history. Meaning is that Star Wars has some representation of what our actual world is like. Now that we examine the politics of Star Wars, I would like to close with the following statements. We have looked at the Republic, the Empire, and the Resistance. I hope that I have gave you all insight in how exotic the political system of Star Wars truly is. Hopefully, after understanding how the governing bodies of each trilogy works, I hope it is no longer a galaxy far, far away, and let's hope it's something that we can all look forward to and look towards inside of our own modern governments. Thank you. Here's the message.